Welcome to The Grow Show, powered by Steel. On The Grow Show, we share ideas, tips, tactics, and insights to help you grow your landscaping business based on our team's 40 years of experience running a landscaping company and working with other owners and their teams to do the same. New episodes are released weekly on Wednesdays. Here's your host, Marty Grunder.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever the case may be. This is Marty Grunder from Grunder Landscaping Company and the Grow Group with another exciting edition of The Grow Show powered by Steel. And I am super excited to have a very special guest on with us today, Joe Chiellini from Ameriscape Services Incorporated, ASI, Tampa, Florida. Joe, welcome to The Grow Show.
Thank you, Marty. My pleasure, and thanks for having me.
Well, of course, man. Joe, let's get a little bit into the history here. You and I first met. You're going to have to help me with the years because it's a little blurry. I do remember that when I came to see you, you were around $1 million a year company. A lot has changed since then. Remind me how we met.
So, Marty, I'm going to think that we're celebrating our 20-year anniversary. I'm thinking. I think it was in 2003. And I was flipping through Lawn and Landscape magazine and saw, and there was obviously tons of available consultants to come help and so forth. And I was an avid reader of the magazine, but I kind of always saw consultants, and you were the only one that actually picked up the phone, which I thought was really cool. We were both small time then probably, but you actually picked the phone up and answered, and we talked, and your honesty is what sold me on using your services at that time, which you were doing you came in and you did the culture evaluations, right?
Yeah, I did like a culture audit.
Culture audit. There it is. And so I was super impressed because I wanted to bring you in to do that. And you said, hey, take your money and put it here and come to what was then called the boot camp. And I was super impressed by that as well. So between answering the phone and having me spend my money wisely and not taking advantage of a situation, as I say, the rest is history.
Yeah, well, and you've become a good friend. And, it's sort of funny, Joe. I would probably tell clients not to become friends with your clients to a certain degree, just because it can make it tough. But you work so long with someone, and, I've worked with you on a lot of things. You've done the work. Half of the phone calls that you and I have had in the last 10 years are you just calling me to tell me something good that happened. It's not like I've been actively engaged in running your business for you, so I don't want to overstate that. We'll get a little bit more into that. Tell us a little bit about yourself for folks that may not have met Joe Chiellini. What are the big events that got you to where you are right now? And certainly talk to us about the fire department, because I have a little angle on that fire department, if you don't touch on it, that I am.
So I was 19 years old and I got hired on the fire department. That was my dream in high school. I worked different jobs in high school, whether it be restaurants or grocery stores, a typical high school kid. But my dream was to be a firefighter. And so I got hired at 19 years old. Understand this is pre 9/11. So we were on food stamps basically as firefighters. We didn't make a lot of money, and everybody had a job on their day off or a business they ran. And with me, I was young. I lived at home with my parents. I didn't need a lot, but the biggest issue was 2 days off. The schedule was 24 on and 48 off. And you give a 19, 20-year-old 2 days off, it's a weekend every other day. Not a lot of money in the pocket at the end of those 2 days. So I had to find something to do. And I worked with some of the firemen on the job doing different things, whether it was concrete, carpentry, roofing, AC, whatever. And then said, you know what, I'm ready to do my own thing. And I said, I'm going to cut grass in the neighborhood. I was living with my parents again, as I said earlier, and they let me keep my little 4x8 trailer. And I had a little Nissan pickup truck that I drove. And I did it, really started cutting grass in the neighborhood, more so not to spend money. It kept me busy.
Yeah, I get it.
I mowed with no shirt, so I had a nice tan all the time. And, and that's kind of how it started. And, it grew. The fire department was good to me because it gave me those 2 days off and it gave me a steady paycheck. The downside of it, and something you helped me with, was as I grew, I was really cheap because I did have another income. And that's not how you need to grow a business. It doesn't need to be dependent on another salary.
What do you mean cheap? Explain to us what you mean by
Well,
that.
I was cutting grass for $25
Right.
a cut, and probably the going price should have been about $40 a cut. And
Yeah, you didn't know your numbers, did
oh,
you?
didn't know my numbers at all. All I knew was I wasn't spending money, and I had some extra money in my pocket.
Yeah.
But the feel good piece, I was out working, I was sweating. I was an entrepreneur. I had a business.
Yeah.
Wasn't making any
Right.
money, but I pulled around a trailer and looked like I had a business. But so I started hiring. Business grew because I was inexpensive, and I started hiring firefighters that were my friends. And then it looked as if I had a real big business. I got another truck going, and then I got my
Right.
first commercial account from one of my residents that I took care of, and it just grew and grew and grew until I started hiring a full-time person. And as you know, I hired my second ever team member that I hired was Mark, Slim,
Yep.
and
Slim.
still with
Yep.
me today. Actually, he's running our
Right.
Weed Man company now.
Right.
But he came on board, and then I really had to start treating it like a real business. Again, the fire department was really good to me because it gave me that time. But what I realized is I needed to start surrounding myself with people I could trust when I went to the fire department.
Yep.
Hence, Slim. And so Slim came in and really helped do that. And Slim had experience from some of the bigger companies. He worked for ECI and stuff like that. So he helped me kind of get things in place to move forward, and then just continued to grow the company until we eventually went all commercial at that point.
So tell us about today, your business mix. What's your revenue? Give us a little bit of insight. I mean, I know it, but our listeners don't know it.
So last year, or this year, 2023, we're going to hit 13 million. Our budget for next year is 14 million. That's probably a little surprising to you because we've been in the 15s and 16s when you and I have talked.
Yeah.
We really scaled our business back and concentrated on getting out of the new construction install work. We shut that division down. That was about a $5 million revenue stream for us. But so we were done with that, and we kind of took a step back, and now our revenue is, we're going to do a 9 to 10 million. And I think our budget for 24, we're finishing it up right now, is nine and a half million in maintenance, and then three and a half million in install work, which is just in our portfolio only. We do you probably see some of the YouTube videos we do. We're doing some residentials. The great thing about that, Marty, is it's all word of mouth. It's family, friends, and then it's just grown.
And you do a great job. I mean, the videos that I've seen, those of you that are on the Grow Show today, powered by Steel, you want to follow Joe. He does. Joe, your connections are amazing. And I watch all your videos. They're on my feed. And you get clients to stand in front of a recently completed job and brag about ASI.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. We did one, and Noah, who runs all our marketing and so forth. He's 22 years old, fresh out of the University of South Florida here locally. So he says, "Hey, we need to do this more, boss. This is great. Like you get these people talking, you're talking. This is good stuff." And so he's taking it and run with it.
So it's 13 million, and it sounds like it's 70% commercial, 30% residential. That's
where. Well, yeah, it's just install work on our clients. Yeah, so
I get it.
That's our mix. That's what we want. I'm proud of our team because that's what we set out to do. About 2 years ago, we started shutting it down, and then 16 months ago, things really went away. So I'm proud of our team for staying focused on that and making it happen.
Yeah. Well, the goal of a business is to make money, and that wasn't profitable side for you. And having the courage to do that, and having the courage today to admit that and help all the listeners here.
Marty, I think the biggest piece about it is, when you're looking at a $5 million revenue stream, being able to go and look, and I appreciate the kind words, but the other piece is going, we're just not good at this. We're not good at this.
I get it.
We need to get out of this world.
Yeah.
I don't care how much money it is. That was what I was more proud of our team than anything, is like we looked at ourselves and kind of look in the mirror.
So the Hillsborough County Fire Department, you rose to the rank of captain, I believe, right?
Yeah, I was a captain, acting battalion chief.
And then when did you retire from the fire department?
Crazy. This week is 5 years.
Is it really?
This year is 5 years.
Joe, that's what COVID does to you. I thought it was 2 years ago.
It really is. When we, flooded our house here, you and I were just speaking about it earlier before we got on here. I looked at some of the stuff we were taking off the walls, and I looked at the years that I did. I'm like, whoa, 30 years. And then what really caught my eye is 5 years ago, I retired.
Yeah. And you learned a lot from working at the fire department. What were lessons you learned from being a full-time firefighter and a full-time entrepreneur, learning how to delegate? But what were the lessons that you think you learned as a firefighter that you've used to grow ASI?
So I'll give you a little good and bad, Marty, because you actually had to correct me on something that I think the fire department bred into me. But I'll start with the good. The good is I've built our culture at ASI to be a brotherhood,
Yeah.
and I announced that at my retirement. There was a mix of people there. There was a bunch of my brothers from the fire department, and there was a lot of ASI team members at my retirement party. And I said, what has helped me get both of them going and what I want to continue at ASI is the brotherhood that
Yes.
family atmosphere that we had at ASI, and with what we went through this past 16, 18 months, without that culture and out that bond and that brotherhood, we wouldn't have made it. There's no way. And then on the bad side of it is when you're a captain and a leader on the fire department, you get off a truck and you got a fire, house fire or any situation, bad car wreck, whatever it is. You start barking orders. There's no time to say, hey, how do you feel, Johnny? Can we do this?
Yeah.
There's none of that.
Right.
It's your decision. You have to make those decisions and you got to own them. And I've had to kind of scale that back. And you've helped me with that a little bit. Like you helped me realize that, like, Joe, I get where you're coming from. You just step off the truck and you start barking orders. And there's a piece in the fire department that I'll share. We call it the white shirt. You wear a white shirt as a captain or a chief, and that respect, a rookie firefighter walks into a fire station, he sees that shirt, automatically you have his respect. In our world and time of public or a private sector, you got to earn your people's respect. And so that's the good and bad piece, of that.
If I could comment, and I've told you this, and I have learned this about you. You are a very kind man, and you care about people. And one of the things, and it took me several years to see who you were and just analyzing you. And one of the things, and I shared this with you, that it dawned on me one day about 10 years ago, was that when you pull up on an accident scene as a firefighter or a burning house, if you don't like the person in that house, say there's somebody you don't like, or you get to the accident, you don't like that person, you have to help them. You don't have a choice. And I think it's helped you with your can-do attitude, like the obstacles that you've had. I mean, your house you just went through a flood. I saw the news. I figured you were in trouble. I texted you. I asked you if you were okay. You said, no, there's water running through the house you're showing me. And basically you said, it's okay, man. It's just things. We're going to be fine. Don't cry about me. And that attitude that you've had on life, we were just talking before we went live here about how, I can't say for you, but when I was in my 20s, anything bad that happened to me, I didn't deal with it well. I took it personal. I do believe in God, and I would wonder, why did he do that to me? Woe is me. Why has all the bad stuff happened to me? And you don't look at things that way. And I've learned that from you. And did the fire department help you with that? Maybe tell us a little bit about the shirt you have on, because I think that's part of you. Talk to us about that real quick.
So, I think the fire department did help me with that. When you're young and crazy, when we got hired, we ran hard, especially as firemen young in our 20s. But, when I got married and, my wife, she's a stud, and, she really puts things she puts things in perspective. But one of the things that I think made me realize, and that you got to enjoy each day with the fire department, is you can go to work and not come home. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have a crappy day, and you're going to go and you leave your family in a crappy way, and I go to work for 24 hours, and God forbid something bad would have happened, that's how it ends. So I think that's where the fire department helped me. It wasn't with the day-to-day things. It was just that it could be over tomorrow. The next call I run could be done. Now, granted, that could happen to any one of us. You could pull out of your driveway today and something happens, but there's just a higher risk, obviously, when you go to the fire department. And seeing the death and seeing all the things that we saw in the kids, and it just really puts things in perspective, which is one of the reasons I left. I was only 48 years old when I left, Marty, but I did 30 years and I had plenty left in me, but I started thinking, I was having more fun at ASI at that point.
Yeah.
And, I rolled the dice. 30 years. I'm good.
Yeah. Right.
And so I think that's where that comes from. And then, you mentioned these are actually our Christmas pajamas, but today's our Christmas party at ASI.
So why don't you stand up so we can see it? Because I want everybody to see that. Okay. Team Chiellini, OTS.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you cuss on the brochure. Go ahead.
Well, I thought about that, Marty, and I remember the bumper stickers that always said "shit happens," and those were all over the place. So,
Yeah.
Probably years ago, I would always tell my kids when I was coaching them, my kids growing up, and whatever the situation was, I would look at them and I would say, "Listen, you got to own that shit." And when I was really mad, and so. Funny story, my daughter's softball team at one point grabbed it because they'd always hear me saying own it and OTS, and they grabbed it. And now we got shirts, we got stickers, look, here on my phone, there's a sticker. We got little stickers. We got stickers that go in car windows. But, good or bad is what it's about. It's about owning it. And I feel like I always try to do that. We got them all over our trucks at ASI. Listen, the customer, if we did something wrong or whatever, it doesn't matter. Right. Everything can be fixed. And that did come from the fire department, Marty, with me, because I would run calls on people that maybe overdose or whatever. And I would always come home and tell my kids, there's nothing we can't fix. Nothing. Right. There's nothing worth dying, overdosing, hurting yourself. Nothing. Zero. We can fix anything. It doesn't matter. We will get through things. And that's just, that's my attitude on everything. We got to OTS. And it's one of our core values.
And I admire you for being so transparent. Let's move along here a little bit to your family there at ASI. Why do people like to work at ASI?
I think because we have fun. And I mean that in a good way, but sometimes it hurts me, Marty. Like sometimes I probably don't make as much money as I could because we're not doing things maybe as perfect as they should be. But at the end of the day, it's a hard job, Marty. Like, we got properties where these guys and gals are on, roadways that go 3-4 miles. They're chasing an edger or a weed eater for 3 or 4 miles. They got, gas cans periodically staged out, and they're carrying a water jug. We got to make this as good as we can. And I think it's the little things. They come back at the end of the day, there's ice cream. During the summer, we got watermelons out there, or we got the smoothie truck that pulled in. And when the guys are pulling into the branches, there's that stuff. Yesterday was our last day of work for the season. Today's our Christmas party, like I mentioned, but yesterday worked. And our branch manager at Tampa, he made a big thing of pork. And at the end of the day, they were coming in. They got a little pork sandwich, a soda pop, and some water, and went about their business. We'll see them all today. So at the end of the day, we all in Florida, anyways. I can't speak for the country, but we all have the same trucks. We all have either red or green mowers. We all have the same trailers. It's how you treat your people, and we make it an honest commitment to treating our people fair. And customer care is number one with us. We're rolling out a big initiative. And I tell our team, it's not just the customer that's paying us. There's a customer that pulls in that gate every day and gets on a truck for us.
Right. Strategic planning is something that you believe in. It's been amazing to watch where you've run with that. What inspired you to do strategic planning? Where'd you learn that? Because I know you got a little bit of it from us, but it's more because you got into it and sought others out. Tell us a little bit about strategic planning and what that means for your company and what you do. Give us the lowdown on that.
So we just finished our strategic planning 2 weeks ago, actually, where we rolled out, like I mentioned, our new customer care initiative for 2024. But it happened, obviously, when I got with the peer groups with you guys, Marty, when we started. And then Aileron was a big one for me. When you introduced me to Aileron and I went there, and I think what really opened my eyes is, it's kind of driving without a roadmap, without GPS these days. Roadmap was back when we were in our 20s, Marty, but now it's GPS.
Exactly. The young listeners are like, "What's a roadmap?"
Yeah, roadmap. What's that?
Yeah, what's that?
But it's like driving without GPS and knowing where you're going. And the strategic planning when I saw what it did for my company in the first year I did it, We were sold, and we don't miss it. And we even, quarterly, we go off site. We review our strategic plan. We've adopted EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system, the traction book that you had us read in a book club, as I call it.
I tricked you into reading a lot of books, Joe.
Marty. I couldn't read when I met you. Now look at me. I'm reading 2 and 3 books at a time and listening to them in the truck on the radio.
Right.
So I think, when we implemented some of those things and you see the success that you can have by following that and being able to adapt and overcome quarterly if something's not going the way it should. And the other piece was, with the strategic plan, what I love about it, if you thought about this on ours was December 7th and 8th, and by, we're into March and we still haven't moved on that, that's probably telling us it's not that important. Let's look at that. And so those are the things that I think you don't carry things for a long period of time. You're evaluating your business constantly. And, you're doing it strategically, which is hence the strategic plan.
So in the Grow Group, just for everyone's edification, we describe strategic planning as you have a dream, that's where you're headed, and then you have reality. And your strategic plan is the steps you're going to take to get from where you are right now to that next destination. Is that how you look at it as well, Joe?
Absolutely. And it's funny you mentioned, seeing other companies, and I did do that. And I even went outside of the green industry to see how they strategic plan to kind of figure out how we wanted to do ours. And the thing about that, Marty, is I'm looking at companies that are doing 20 million or maybe 18 or 20 million. That's what I'm looking at. I get calls, from NALP and through the program that, Trailblazer program. Yeah. And I'll get guys or gals that call me and they're doing 2 million. And I say, listen, I'll whatever you want. If you want to come see my operation, if you want me to come see yours, I'm all in. But you really need to find somebody doing 4 or 5 million. And that's that step that you're talking about. How do I get there? Yep. And then we'll worry about 10 million. So I think that's when you do your strategic plan, you look at, like you just said, it's just steps to get to where you are. And I try to tell people that.
So it sounds to me like you're a big advocate of whatever size company doing strategic planning. We've heard the outcomes that you've gotten. It sounds like a unified team, clear direction. What's our focus? We only have so much time and money to dedicate efforts towards. So we want to be focused on that. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. One of my mentors is a gentleman named Brian Murphy, and he owns a company called ReliaQuest. And remember when I had my board of advisors, he was one of my first board of advisors, Marty, back.
I do remember him.
Well, he's very successful. If you get a chance, you can Google him and his company, but you'll see like the ReliaQuest Bowl now. I mean, he's done very well for himself. His companies were what they call a unicorn. He took a company from $0 to $1 billion. He still strategic plans. He still does it. So you never outgrow it as far as I'm concerned. Is it different? Absolutely. But when him and I talk, we still talk about those kinds of things.
Talk to us about the software that you use to run the business, the impact that would have, maybe advice you'd have for our listeners, those that are with us today. Also, I let everyone know that's listening on the Grow Show, you can also watch this on YouTube, and you can see Joe's shirt, and sometime it may improve your learning experience. But tell us a little bit about the software that you use, how that helps, what advice you have for companies using a piece of software if you have any.
So embrace technology and software is number one. Probably a lot of our younger listeners, that's not an issue. But with our seasoned listeners, we have to embrace technology.
Amen. I agree with you.
And I didn't jump all in on Aspire when I should have. I will tell you, I used several other ones, and the biggest thing with technology and embracing it, and Aspire, I think, filled a gap. But the biggest thing with technology is we typically only use 20 to 30% of it when we get it. We never implement it 100%. I believe Aspire is what we use now. They have figured out a way to make you use more of it.
Good point.
And I think that's an important factor. Our company, there's a mix of age wise, and there's people that are just grabbing it and running with it, and there's some that we're having to really show. how to get involved. But it was a game changer for me, the way we look at reports now, landscape, management hours, everything. So it was a game changer. I don't know what else is out there. I just know that I'm using a lot more of the percentage of Aspire than I ever used of the other programs.
Yeah. And we run it as well, as you know, and we love it. We put on a field trip here that's just for Aspire users. You've had one of your folks through it, so it's good stuff. Let's briefly touch on trucks and equipment. Tell us about what you run. Do you buy new? Do you buy used? Do you have a mechanic? When do you get rid of something? Buy, lease, pay cash? Give us your equipment philosophy, because folks that listen to the Grow Show, they're always concerned about equipment, trying to get better in that area.
So we do buy all our equipment. We run typical F-250 crew cab. There's 4 to 5 team members in each one. We do have some Isuzus for job sites that warrant those little tighter jobs and so forth. So we have those. Those are our 2 power units that we use. Open trailers, no enclosed trailers. We run all open trailers. We run all still equipment, and John Deere.
Well, we like that.
Absolutely,
Joe.
and they like me because boy, we go through it.
Yeah, right.
When you got 200 team members and over the 3 companies, but 180 at ASI, but we can run through some equipment, and we run all John Deere as far as mowers go. We have 3 mechanics total between the 2 branches. We ran into an issue, and I know, Marty, I've been to a couple of the Grow events. I'm coming actually to the one in Des Moines. And I know that people will have, this has always been a fight, right? Do we have mechanics? Do you not?
That's why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. So here in our area, you turn a piece of equipment in, you don't know when you're getting it back. And the summers here and the equipment, we have St. Augustine grass here is 80% of our thing. I mean, it's always something. And I don't want my team wrenching on the equipment for 2 reasons. Number one, it's disheartening. I think it crushes culture. You're out here killing yourself in 100-degree weather. And now I'm going to stick you under a mower to work on it, or just to try to keep it going. And the second thing is, they don't know a lot about it. And now who knows what I have going? There could be safety bypasses and everything else. And back to the culture, having a great culture. I want them to know when they come back, there's a mechanic there waiting on you. We'll get this running. We'll get that piece of equipment back to you as soon as we can. When you send these pieces of equipment in, there's so many landscape companies and mowing companies here in the Tampa Bay area. You just don't know when you're getting your equipment back.
I see. And that's great. That's great that you know that. So we'll move on here. You mentioned about coming to Grow in Des Moines. We're super excited that we're going to see you there. But several years ago, you hosted Grow.
Mm-hmm.
So you had several hundred people, as I always say, rifling through your underwear drawers. You're putting your whole self out there. You did a great job with the event. What did you learn from hosting Grow? And just give us a little insight on that experience.
So you learn that you're not as good as you think you are.
Wow. Yeah.
It was you're kind of you feel like a king for the day or for the couple of days that you're here. But one thing I learned is to listen because you pick up nuggets. And when I go to anything, I don't, sometimes I'm kicking myself going to something that's, small or whatever it is, just an event, a conference, whatever. But if you can just walk away with a nugget, you win. That's what the day's about. Find a nugget. And I even got on my phone, I have a folder, nuggets, and I just drop nugget and I just keep track of nuggets, that I could maybe use, whether it be personally or business. And so I think that's what I learned. Everybody that came in, no matter the size, you can learn something. We're going to Des Moines. And when I was out there last time, with when we were in the peer group, visit, we're using Fuel Cloud now at our company.
Yeah.
That was one thing.
You saw them using it.
And what were they doing back then, Marty? A couple million, 3 million?
A couple $1 million. They're like 11 million.
I saw that. They're doing so good. But when we were there, they were doing a few $1 million. I was probably doing 10. And I took Fuel Cloud from them. Like phenomenal, right? And Fuel Cloud's probably happy too. That. So I think no matter where you go, and that's what I learned from whether, going just to Grow conferences, no matter who you sit with, everybody I think always wants to run out and sit with the Marianis or the Rorys or, you
Yeah,
know,
the big ones, right?
yeah. And you know what? Sometimes there's a nugget over here when you sit with these people.
You know, it's interesting. I don't want to say his name, but it's somebody you and I both know well. And I think you'll recall this conversation we had. And he was part of some peer groups that had really big companies in it, and he quit because he said that he got a lot out of it the first couple years, but he said that he found that the owners really weren't in touch with the, where the tire hits the road on the business. And he said he felt like he wasn't getting ideas to help him move, and that he'd rather be with smaller companies because he said that's where the waste is. He says the waste isn't in the front office. The waste is in the men and the women out working in the field, doing things inefficiently, not using the right equipment, not having the right truck set up, not planning the job right, not having a spire or something like that. I thought that was a really interesting perspective. I guess in a perfect world, I'd love to be in a group that had people, my size and a little bit bigger, but I would never go into a situation being arrogant, thinking that I didn't have something to learn, like what you just mentioned. Like we have a local grocery store here, Dorothy Lane Market, that I know you've been to with me. We've taken our peer groups there. They're a grocery store. They don't do anything. Well, they do a lot of stuff like we do, and we do things like them, but they're a different industry, and we learn something from them. So I think going through life with your antenna up, looking for things, which is what Joe Chiellini does, and you have done, it's amazing, is a big thing. Why should landscape pros go to grow? I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit.
So I think number one, you'll enjoy this. We can all cry together, cry in our beers together.
Yeah, I understand.
We all struggle, and we all have struggles,
Yeah.
and so it's nice to know that you're not on an island, and it's not just you. So stop the poor me, woe me,
So true.
because it's not you. That's the big one. The other thing is, again, I'm back to the nuggets and learning. It's everybody's there to learn. You mentioned something there I think is great. The antenna up. Everybody at Grow has their antenna up.
It is amazing.
They're not paid to be
is.
there. They're paying to be there. So it's interesting. I'm bringing two of my team members with me, and they'll have their antennas up. They're wondering why we're going to Des Moines in February, but
I understand. It's going to be hot inside, I promise you.
And why are we leaving 50 and 60, 70 degree? And why are we going? So,
but you also know what we've got in store, and it'll be beneficial, even though you got to put on your winter coat.
100%. And that's exactly what I told them. I said, you're not going for the weather. You're going for the experience and the learning. And if you walk around with your antenna up, you're going to be shocked at what you come back with. So I think that's what people will get from growing. You mentioned Dorothy Lane earlier. We have the Publix grocery stores down here.
Great outfit.
Unbelievable. And I'm lucky enough, Brian Murphy, I told you my mentor, his brother just got appointed president and CEO of Publix. And so
oh my goodness,
I'm lucky to have a little insight and so forth. But our customer service initiative that we're rolling out, we're calling it Growing Customer Care in 2024. Is all based on Publix. We've read through books and everything else. And their margins are just like ours. You say they're different margins, but they're really not. When you think about these grocery stores will give you, if you walk in with something, they'll give it back to you for free or whatever. They got the same margins we have, if not worse. And they can do it. They find a way.
I didn't want to interrupt you because you were on a roll, but I wanted to see if you agree with me. Doesn't it seem like when you're with fellow landscape pros and you're crying in your beer with them, like you said, that you kind of say it and you listen to it a little bit more carefully, and you're like, I got to quit whining. Everybody's dealing with this. And it's almost like you get over, okay, so you got a problem, but you're not unique. Everyone else is dealing with that. Now let's go work on solutions. Do you agree with that?
100%. Most of the time you'll find a solution there. When you say it out loud and you're talking, and all of a sudden somebody goes, well, hey, have you thought about this? And you want to punch yourself in the face and go, what was I thinking? That's really,
exactly.
This is an easy fix. And no whiners, just winners. That's it.
Right. All right. We're coming to the end of the Grow Show powered by Steel. We've got Joe Chiellini on with us, the founder, CEO, president of ASI Tampa, Florida. Joe's a former Hillsborough County firefighter. He was a captain, retired 5 years ago. Can't believe it was 5 years ago. I want to get a little bit sappy on you. You're an awesome father and a husband. Why?
I I think you're only as good as your partner. And, Audra's I said it earlier, she's an absolute stud.
Yeah.
She keeps this family and us focused. We're a unit. We're not,
Yeah.
you follow me on Facebook, Marty. You don't ever see me going on trips by myself, or, my wife's not on trips by herself. We're a unit. Everything we do is together.
Right.
My daughter's off very successful in college now, and I got my 2 boys, and I think it's about her, and she keeps us in check. We're very centered around faith. We're Catholic, and we participate at the church in all aspects, whether it be lecturing or serving or Eucharistic ministers.
Right.
So, and everything we do is a unit. And I think when people look at us, I hear that a lot. Like, man, you guys are always doing things together. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, aren't you supposed to?
Yeah. And here's another thing. Like, I remember when you have a college athlete, she's a Division I softball player. I had a Division I soccer player. And I remember doing all the games and everything and the club soccer. And I had a friend one time say, God, I hate that stuff. Joe, I love that stuff.
Man.
Like, it wasn't like me being a good dad. Like, I loved it. Like, I loved being around all that. I miss it.
It really breeds success. And my kids have a lot of fun with me, because now my daughter, she's like, oh, she's telling you, because Gino, my little guy, he's into golf. And he's on a trajectory that's pretty impressive. He's working at like an 8 handicap right now at 13 years old.
And how old is he?
13.
12?
13. And so my daughter, they have fun with it, because they're like, oh boy, you got dad now. Woof. But I do. I think that's what makes a dad, a wife, whatever it might be, is the family at the end of the day. And it's, we're a unit. I remember dropping her off at college, and when we were driving away, we all kind of looked at each other. There's 4 of us in there. We kind of dealt with it on our own for about 10 minutes. And we all looked at each other and said, this is the new unit. We got, this is us now. And that's the successful piece, right? Your daughters are doing phenomenal. I see them getting married and everything else. That's what you want out of life. Remember, you introduced me to Larry Winget, and his book. My wife and I took it to heart. Your kids are your own fault. Do not send them out into society as bums. It's your responsibility. And we take that. My wife and I take that very serious.
Well, you've got 3 wonderful kids. Audra's a champ. She's just terrific. I feel so blessed to have gotten to know both of you. Joe, what do you want to be remembered for when you're gone?
That I don't think about that a lot. It's kind of crazy. I go through life, and that, you ask me now, and I'm thinking, I want people to say, when I was around Joe, he was happy, he was positive. His values were in line with what society should be. And he was a family man, it's funny that I don't think,
I think I would say, I hope you and I are propping each other up in our 80s, but you're well on your way to being remembered for that. What would you tell your 25-year-old self to do and not do? Is there any advice you have? Because we have a lot of young people that listen to the old guy Marty here. You have any advice there?
Business wise, I got, there's a business and a personal, I guess. Business wise, ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid to ask. I asked for help, starting with you, and then on and on and on, obviously still to today. I didn't ask for help early enough. I think
I didn't either, Joe.
Yeah. And I got young guys and gals coming to me now. I did another podcast last week with this young gentleman out of USF. He's starting a little landscape company. Seth is his name. And I'm like, you're ahead of me. Trust me. You are ahead of me. The funny piece is, Slim and I laugh. I probably, I'm part of Weed Man now. I probably would have got into Weed Man a lot earlier.
You're liking that, aren't you?
Yeah, it was a great adventure. And, Slim and I always wondered, and we never did it. So I say explore your thoughts, I guess is a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
Not chase your dreams, more explore your thoughts. And then on a personal side, Marty, I got nothing. I've enjoyed my life. I think things happen for a reason. A lot of people might not know. I was
what a great perspective.
I was married, once before. I was married for 2 years, nothing big, but I married, and I was kind of like, man, wow, the struggles I went through to become, get Audra and I married in a Catholic church and all that. Well, you know what? If I wouldn't have married my first wife, I would have never moved to South Tampa, and I would have never met Audra. So, am I pissed here? Am I pissed off? Really?
Right.
I don't have anything. I think I've done everything I wanted to do. Have I made mistakes? Yes, but OTS them and move on.
Yeah. And learn from them. And that is a great way to look at mistakes. What's on the horizon for you and ASI companies the next 5 years?
Cool story. We went through some struggles for the past 16 months, real bad ones. And as far as business wise, we're back on track. Things are fantastic. And I've turned the keys over to Joe, who you mentioned came up for your Aspire. I turned the keys over to him for operations. Joe Chiellini has stepped completely out of operations. Him and I meet twice a month for same page meetings, as we call them with Traction. And I get my updates from there. And I am heavy in sales and culture. Those are the two things that we've kind of sat down and
which is where you should be. That is where you thrive.
Yep. And the team has come to me and told me that. And I've had to, it's scary. I'm not gonna lie to you, when you go through what we did, it's hard to say, okay, here you go, Joe, here's the keys. But you've met Joe. He's an absolute stud when it comes to operations, and far better than me at it. He's worked for, he worked at Valley Crest and Brightview for, 15 years. He gets it. And he's got the keys to the company. So we're looking to grow it, but we're growing it smart. Florida is a very strange market right now. There's a lot of companies being bought up. And we're finding that if we stay in our niche and grow smart and slow and grow our customer care, that we're going to kick everybody's ass. And that's where we're at.
Yeah. What's your succession plan? Do you have any plan there? Do you care to share that? Or you not know it yet? What are you thinking there?
After what we went through, Marty, it's kind of, I haven't had time to think about it. It was more about getting our company back on the tracks and moving forward. I'm 53 years old. You just mentioned Gino's 13. My daughter's in college. I'm having a great time. I'm having fun. Yeah. And I wasn't having fun for a couple of years. I mean, it was bad. Yeah. I had to really evaluate myself. And my mentor's the one that really smacked me around and said, Joe, quit calling me at 4 a.m. Him and I would do 4 a.m. Quit calling me and whining. Get to work. Like, you can fix this and be happy. Right. So I don't have one right now because I'm happy.
Yeah. Well, that's good for everyone to hear. What books are you reading? Do you have any books? You mentioned the Traction book. Are there any other books you would recommend?
Well, the Traction
listeners to the Grow Show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I told you before, Marty, I didn't read till I met you. And my wife Audra is a huge reader. So between the two of you, I've taken on many books. Like I mentioned,
that's great.
I got a couple going. So on my nightstand is Holy Moments. It's I believe Holy Moments happen around us every day, all the time.
Holy Moments.
Matthew Kelly.
Oh yeah, I know Matt. I know who Matthew is. He's up here in Cincinnati.
He absolutely is. Yep. And I
actually, Vince, Vince, my partner, his mom is good friends with Matt.
Get out of here.
No, for sure.
Yeah. So he wrote a book called Holy Moments, and they happen.
I know the book now that you say it. Yeah.
Happen every day, all the time. So that's one I keep on my nightstand. The other one I'm reading is called Sit to Rise. It's the Patrick Young story, and a forward by Billy Donovan. And you probably recognize Billy Donovan's name because he was a basketball coach at University of Florida, the great University of Florida. Right. He was on their national championship team, and Patrick had a horrific accident 2 weeks before he was getting married and was paralyzed from the waist down. Gosh. And a beast of a man, this large, bigger than life human, strong, played basketball in Europe. So his book, I just got into, it's called Sit to Rise. And his, turning, it says turning the darkest pain into your brightest victory. Wow. Yeah, it's so moving to read. Actually, he's going to come speak at Leadership Tampa Bay for me. I'm bringing him in to speak.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
And then the other one that I kind of took on, and I listened to it in the truck because I got a couple I read, and then I'll listen in the truck because I really don't like listening to radio anymore. I sound like a grandpa, but I got my music. My wife and I go to country concerts, and we enjoy that. But to sit there and listen to the commercials and everything else, it's kind of disheartening. But I'm listening to called The Energy Bus. It's an older book. But
John.
Yeah, by John. Yep. And I'm listening to that in my truck because it's about being positive and the impact, the magnet that you can bring to yourself by being positive. I went through a bad time, as I mentioned, Marty, and it's all because I was not positive, with what was going on.
That's awesome. Are you still working out? Any other advice you have for people? Because you got a lot of energy. You take care of yourself. Are you still working out? What all are you doing
I was
there?
out for a run this morning when we were texting, actually. So
Okay.
obviously my workouts have changed as I've gotten older. I'm not lifting the heavy weight. Vinny, my middle boy, he's the heavy lifter now. He's joined a 1,000-pound club, and he's deadlifting over 500 pounds and all those good things. That's not me anymore. So now my workouts are more for staying in shape and keeping myself. A lot of stretching. I do cold plunges now. I can just walk out in Dayton, Ohio and do a cold plunge, but I actually go on my dock.
Oh, you're always getting on me for Dayton.
But I actually have a cold plunge. I got ice on my, I got an ice maker, and I dump ice in there. So I do cold plunges now and a lot of stretching. I still lift. I enjoy the lifting piece, but it's a lot more about keeping myself in shape. I want to be, Marty, I got brothers that are in bad shape. These guys are heavy lifters, and I don't want to be that. I want to walk my kid down the aisle, when she's getting married, and I want to play with my boys. I want to throw the football. I want to throw balls, that stuff.
Right. Joe, we've had a delightful conversation. Is there anything that I didn't ask you? Are there any final points you want to make before we end the Grow Show with you today?
I do have some. Did you get a card from me? Have you gotten it?
Yeah, your Christmas card?
Nope. I sent another card. I bet I sent it to the wrong address. I have a book that I read. It's kind of a daily mentor book, and you follow steps every day.
I did not get your card.
I'm going to find out where it went. No, I'm going to find out where it went. It could be my office. Maybe somebody in my office is going to get fired for not mailing it. I don't know.
I hope not.
I'm kidding. No, I'm going to find out. I'm going to get the address, and I'll send it. I'll text it to you. But Marty, I want to share this. Is in that daily grind, the book. Every day you're doing something to get better. And there's little things that talk about, and it's 365 days. And in there, one of the days was sit and write about somebody who believed in you and took you and helped you get to where you are now. And I sent you a card on that. I wrote you a nice letter.
Well, no, I did not get it. Thank you,
So
Joe.
I just wanted to share that, because you got to have people that believe in you. And when you find those people, you got to suck them for everything they have. And I feel like I sucked you dry.
No, you didn't. No. I've recharged my batteries. I get tremendous energy. I wish I was doing this interview with you in person. I'd give you a big hug. You've been a tremendous motivation for me, and I know you've dealt with some stuff, and you've dealt with it head on. The thing I admire you most is you don't shy away from things. You don't BS anyone, and you're always there for your family. Joe Chiellini, you're a great man. Thanks for coming on the Grow Show, and I'll see you in Des Moines, Iowa, February 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Yep, okay? Looking forward to seeing everybody.
All right. Love you,
brother.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Grow Show. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and head to growgroupinc.com for more information and resources to grow your landscaping business. A special thanks to the folks at Stihl, whose support makes this podcast possible and whose reliable handheld power equipment makes our jobs easier daily. We'll talk to you next week.